Now, what do you think would happen if you changed the trim in your whole house?
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
And we at the Decker team have enjoyed for over 30 years helping people not only selling, investing, and buying real estate, but also helping people build their finances, helping people build their self-worth, helping people build their faith, helping people strengthen and even heal and flourish in their relationships. For over 30 years, we've been helping people build their life and their home. And trim is part of that.
It really is part of the conversation because trim is the first thing you see when you walk into a house. So what is the impact of trim if I was to do that in my house? Here's the reality. If I choose the wrong trim...
Here we go again.
I know, but it's always this, if we're making the best choice
don't we
for
go
today...
to Home Depot and buy the least expensive colonial trim they have?
No. Please no.
Oh, Rona then?
No, please no.
No? Lowe's?
No, please.
My 3 favorite stores I can't go to?
You can go.
Oh, okay.
You just get to choose trim that is trendy today. If you're thinking about resale at all. And if you're not thinking about resale, as we say in every single show, or hopefully we remember to say in every single show, if you're not thinking about resale, have at her. Do whatever.
Have at her?
Have at her.
What kind of language is that?
That's my slang.
Spent some time in the valley.
I have. So if you're not thinking of selling, if you're not concerned about reselling, you know your home will not be going on the market till you redo whatever it is you're doing right now, then go ahead and do whatever makes you happy. And
I can do whatever makes me happy.
No, because we're going to move at some point.
Oh, when?
I don't know.
If we were to move, where would we move to?
Okay, I'm not answering that question. So we would move to a condo on the water.
Really?
Yep.
In a hot location?
Nope, downtown Ottawa.
Downtown Ottawa. Ooh.
So there you go. That's where we would move if we were going to move.
That's when the fight broke out, Your Honor. I think we need some help.
Okay, so when it comes to trim, if you're thinking about resale at all, you want to look in the magazines. You want to go online. You want to see what the current trend is now, because any trend is usually good unless it's a flash in the pan, like it's there and it's here today and gone tomorrow, which has happened. Like pet rocks. But it's also happened with interior design things.
Yes.
It was a trend for black for a while, black hardwood floors.
Black tubs.
And that lasted about 20 minutes. So if you're... It never really caught on.
It was 20 milliseconds.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. So you really want to be watching for trends. And if you're thinking, well, it's in like 3/4 of the magazines and it's on all the websites, that must mean it's going to stick. Maybe, and maybe not. So you might want to give us a call or give somebody a call that you trust that's been watching the cycle and kind of knows or has a flavor for what is likely to stick.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's like art. If you love it, that's what it's about. You want to look at it for the next 10 or 20 years?
Then do it.
Do it.
Then really, like I said, have at her.
Have at her, yeah. Now, even when we did the trim in our office in Manotick, we went to Mountain Trim.
Right, and we had them custom made.
Custom make it. They had samples, and they don't stock it because they make it out of real wood, not the powdered compressed, what do they call it? MDF, medium density fiber.
Right.
And we picked a pattern and then they cut the trim for us, the amount we needed.
And we wanted to go with something that felt like the 1960s because the building was the 1960s and it had some of the slightly sloped ceiling. Right, at the ceilings and some curve and just the feel and flavor of it. And we decided we'd keep the flat doors rather than replacing doors to a colonial door and create more, not 1960s. We added stone, we added some other things, but it created a nice clean line. And so that's the big thing on trim today. If we're talking 2019,
we are.
And we still got 3 months and then we're in 2020.
I'm still talking 2019 because I won't have clear vision until 2020.
perfect. Because then you're going to have 20/20 vision, aren't you? honey?
Exactly.
I know, it's perfect. So in 2019, in September, what is still the trend, or is the trend now, is more straight lines and more angular and simple.
Yes.
Simple,
But not
clean
necessarily small.
lines. No, tall, big.
Well, decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, decent size. Because one of the things, I see it all the time. People spend a fortune on building a house, and then they skimp on the trim, and the trim is one of the biggest things that catches your eye. The kitchen, the countertops, and the trim. You put skimpy little trim, ew. And the other thing you can do with trim is like around windows, for instance. You don't have to just build a box, with either with the little dollets in the corners or cut it on an angle. You can actually put a piece of nosing, bring your sill out a half an inch or so. Now you can do something underneath. You can do the trim above, and you've got something that looks great. Same thing with above doors. Do the little transit piece on top, especially if you have 9-foot ceilings. If you got 8-foot ceilings, you're already tight to the door. I wouldn't put anything above it.
Right.
It's just going to make it look smaller.
Right. Whereas the other way, you kind of makes your house still feel airy and create some warmth.
Yeah, and it makes your door feel like it's taller.
Yeah.
Which gives you a really good
And yet
feel.
you can do that with clean lines still. There was a time we were doing that with a very colonial feeling piece.
Yeah, and those carved things. We had to tear those off of ours. They had the little carved...
Oh, I know what they have.
What do they call those things? I don't even know what you call them.
Medallions.
Little carved things that were stuck above the door. And they nailed them and glued them. It was so much work to get them off.
Anyway, so that's Ken being a little bitter still.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you know what they say, you can get bitter or you can get better. But
and you've
can't
gotten
get
better?
both. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So he is better. So we want to stick with clean lines and trim. We want to go reasonably large if we're thinking about 2020 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do we want to do in terms of color around trim?
Well, there's a slight trend, and this is one of these decorator things that you may not want to follow, and that is putting on a different color, like a deep, bold color on your trim, doing like a crown piece in a bold color, and kind of looks like a racetrack or something. I don't know. Not my taste. Maybe it's your taste, but if you're going to do that, do it for yourself. Nice thing about trim is you can repaint it.
Yeah.
But I would keep it in a light color matching the doors if you're thinking of resale.
Right. And a soft off-white. So you don't necessarily want it gray on the trim. You certainly don't want, this was in for a little while, quite a few years ago. Never really in the higher end, but in more modest pricing it was in, and that was paint the walls and the trim all the same color.
Yeah.
And then carry on to the ceiling. So the idea is a pretty white ceiling, ideally.
Yeah.
Slightly off can be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trim in the doors slightly off white. Yeah. And then you can go with color, some color on the walls.
So back to that question of will it increase our value? Mm-hmm. Possibly. One is it's going to increase the ability to sell your property. Right. And second, if you've got poorly installed trim now or damaged or cheap, small, thin, is definitely going to increase the value of your property to change that out. And remember, trim was designed to cover the cracks. Right. So if you've got cracks in the
between
seams
the flooring
and cracks at the top, caulk it with that paintable caulking so that you don't have any cracks anymore. That's what trim was designed for. And don't forget the shoe molding. People chintz out and don't do the shoe molding.
Match the trim. Don't go for a different look.
Yeah, exactly. Now, shoe molding is designed to take out the wobbles in the floor so you can bend it, whereas the regular trim you can't bend.
Right. So it makes it look straight even when it isn't possible for it to be straight.
So you can do trim in a house and not break the bank and make a huge difference. We're excited to be your partners moving forward together, because together we got this.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.